Hi, everyone. I hope everyone hope you are well. We are back this week with another episode of Search and Grow podcast with a new guest from uh, from California today. Welcome Nick, Nick Musica, and then it's a pleasure to have you. And I've been wanting. Well, we've been talking for a while, and we're trying to organize this, and it finally happened. So I'm very glad that it finally happened. I have you here. And welcome everyone who obviously thanks everyone for joining or watching or listening the podcast and being there. And also thanks to the main sponsor, all-in-one SEO tool, SE ranking, and which is very useful for everyone who works in SEO, or even if you work in marketing and you are non SEO, you can also use it for different things like keyword research, competitor analysis, a bit of give you a bit of information on audit, and much more than that. So if you want to try, we'll leave you the details to join a free trial in the links. And then let's get started. Let's dive in. Well, for those who don't know Nick, Nick is a very experienced SEO consultant. He's been doing SEO for quite a long time. I mean, since like 2003. And you could tell more about your background if you like to introduce yourself. Over to you, Nick.
Great, awesome. Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me. And good morning or good evening or whatever time it may be for everyone. My name is Nick Musica. I started in SEO around 2003, and it was one of those things where you really don't know you were doing SEO until you start to learn about it, right? And so I was designing websites, writing the copy for websites, and at some point, I stumbled upon how much I was doing. And how it was impacting the website, and then this thing called SEO showed up. So that was then. I worked for a lot of in-house companies as their SEO. I worked for Esurance, which is a bigger insurance company here in the United States, and recently worked at a large publisher here in town, where when I started, the website was getting 85 million visits a year. And 6 years later, it was getting 185 million visits a year, all through SEO. It was a ton of fun. It was called
very good stuff. Very good.
Yeah, it was a very, very cool website. I started my consultancy in September 2019, focusing on small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and working with entrepreneurs on their SEO.
Very cool, very cool. And so you started like more like in the copy area, working on the content, and then that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's where I started. Yeah, and at the time around 2003, I was working for a small, actually a bigger company, but a smaller project. And so there's like 4 of us, and we were all just knocking out this project. And so we needed folks to do things. And so you stepped into HTML, you stepped into design, you stepped into optimizing images. All those things started to show up, and that's been the bag of tricks. It just keeps evolving after that. Yeah,
I think we all kind of like start similar way. We just come across with lots of different challenges and how you learn, and the world of SEO and search is just continuously changing and updating things. So which is exciting, but can be exhausting as well.
Yeah. I was talking with a client yesterday. We were talking about a project, and his response back to me was, "So things haven't really changed." I said, "Yeah. I mean, they've changed almost not at all, and also so much, all at the same time." Right. When it comes down to it, and we have the AI coming up with the patterns in Google. When it comes right down to it, it's always looking at, well, how do you rank above the fold? How do you rank as high as you can above the fold? And that's going to be one of the challenges with the AI.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but definitely, yes, it's gonna, revolution the whole thing, the whole industry. And anyway, we're all like, oh my god, thinking what's gonna happen with this and that. But then, it's a big. I mean, we like challenges. I mean, I think SEOs as nature, we like challenges. So we're very into challenges. So obviously, you've been doing more like consultancy for small businesses and startups. And what would you say? I mean, I mean, if you're focusing more on that area, what you say is how important is we see SEO for those businesses, and how SEO can make an impact in a small business or a startup, and comparing, versus a big organization in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, it could be any marketing channel is going to be important for a business, right? Be it email or paid or SEO, social, whatever it may be. It's a matter of how you want to grow your business. With SEO, it gives you a real chance to grow your brand. Right? So if you're in a place to grow your brand compared to paid search, and paid search is essentially direct response marketing. You put $1 down, you make $1 and a penny back, and you scale that. But SEO, it's more of an investment up front, and then it grows and the traffic grows, and then you just keep on showing up ideally, and then you start to buy that mind share for folks. So you start with the top of the funnel, then you get into consideration set, and then now folks are searching for you and your brand, and they're ready to plunk down their credit card or call you for service or whatever it may be. So if you're in a place where you want to grow your brand and have those multiple eyeballs to do that, then SEO is a good fit for those folks. If you're looking to make money tomorrow, paid is going to be the better way to go.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I agree with that. And it's if someone comes to you like, oh, I want to make money like straight away and not done any SEO before, and it's like, no magicians. We are no magicians.
Yeah. We show folks the time frame for what it takes to go from 0 to 100. Yeah. I'm making up the numbers a little bit, but largely it fits into one of two buckets. It's either it's a brandy new website and you haven't touched it, and so now we're looking at roughly a 9-month ramp up for it to get interesting. Is really when, I mean, you get results earlier, but to get it to look interesting, so that it's talking about in the meetings, we're talking about as a channel, what it's contributing, takes about 9 months.
They could see some return, and they could see, okay, this traffic is picking up, because you can always say, okay, traffic is picking up, but then obviously they don't see the return. It's like, well, why is it where's my money going?
That's right. Yeah. So you have to really set those expectations up front first, and show them results. And we have more than one client where we've repeated this for folks. So it's about 9 months for those brandy new websites. There are cases where if you have a website, and we have a great example of this, and also in fairness, this doesn't happen for a lot of folks. This is a rare occasion, but this does happen with older websites where it's an established brand, it's a good service, they have a backlink profile, they just never focused on SEO. And our jobs are sort of just like to tap into that SEO goodness and let it come out, right?
Yeah.
So there was this one company we were working with. They were getting about 14,000 visits a month, and we started to produce content. And within 2 or 3 months, it starts to ramp up. At about month 6, we went from 14,000 visits a month to 200,000 visits a month, all through SEO. And so radically different, and it's very specific to that website and reasons why that website did that.
I think you touched a very important point with the brand aspect of brand entity or different, and that's so important for any business. I mean, obviously, bigger businesses will have a lot of money to invest in branding in any way that they will drive brand traffic anyway, and they will grow anyway. But then for a small business or a startup or entrepreneur or whoever is doing at a small scale, it's so important to work on the brand as well, and it's sometimes overlooked.
For sure. Yeah. And if it's not capitalized, if SEO is not capitalized well, and you just want to try it, it's not going to work. Don't do it. Put your money into email, put it into paid, do something else, right? Go in with the right expectations, have the team around you, have a consultant or an agency if you haven't done it before. But don't try it. It's not something you try. It's something you do, and you need to be consistent, and that's how you get the results over time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the same with content. I mean, moving on, for example, now into the content aspect. So we say now everyone is like, oh, I go on ChatGPT and I done this, and then just change a bit the intro, beep bam, make some tweaks, and then Smashed it. I mean, obviously, it will depend on what. that's what I say. Like in terms of like content, we'll say, oh, if you got something that you're gonna do consistently and you are really investing in your business medium long term, I mean,
Yes.
what do you want to do with it?
Yeah, and you summed it up nicely. There's this aspect of it's so easy and it's magical, and look, everyone's talking about it. So it really normalizes this conversation around easy and content and results, and it's just not how it works. It's not how it works. Let's pretend it is true just for a moment, because some of it is true, right? You can produce a lot of content now. It can be easy. What's the result you're going for, right? Because easy content typically doesn't equate into quality content. And this isn't the first time that Google has had to deal with a bunch of garbage content. They're very adept at dealing with it. So it's going to be interesting to see everyone who is talking about how easy it is to create content by typing in a couple keywords or a headline or whatever it is. Right. And I've seen some of the results, and people are like, I produced, there's this one guy on LinkedIn, I produced, I think it was 7,000 pages, and he's getting like 100,000 page views a month. Well, you should, for that amount of content, right? You should get that amount of traffic. Also, if you produced it that quickly and you got results that hockey sticked up within a couple months, there's a really good chance it's going to drop off a cliff. So let's come back in 6 months and let's show that trend line.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I believe obviously that will work, and that works for someone who's working in some projects and doing something like blogs or niche or whatever it is. But from a client point of view or business point of view, and a proper brand, a proper business, that's a short-term view, a short-term strategy, not really thinking about, especially in some sectors, right? So from what you would say that in terms of like small businesses, what the main is, I mean, the SEO for small businesses, startups, what the main struggles or things that come across and you can come across?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One is that trying aspect versus committing to it. If you're going to just try it out, if it's going to be one of 10 things you try out this month, it's going to get it's not going to get interesting over time. It's going to get less interesting if you're just trying out, because something else is going to pop sooner versus later, because that's the nature of SEO, right? And the other thing is, so one, commitment. You better have commitment around it if that's what you want. Two is who's doing the work, and is there a champion? So you need to have a champion in the company, someone who's at the leadership level, who is making sure that there's resources going to SEO, that we have technical teams that are on board, that we have writers, we have designers on board, because it's a cross-functional work. It's not done in a silo. So you need that champion to get the leadership team on board. And then you need someone boots on the ground, the specialist, the manager, whatever the title is going to be, who's going to be the one to keep things visible. They're the one who talks to their manager in one-on-one, saying, here's what we did, and here's what the results were. Here are the roadblocks. I need someone to help me take those roadblocks away. And here are the roles that I need. We're working cross-functionally. I can't get prioritized in dev. Can you help me out with that? Or I can't get writers on because they keep going missing on other projects or whatever it is.
So important that, I mean, when you mention obviously the role of the client within the project, because sometimes some clients believe or they think that they can just delegate everything and then we do everything and then everything, the magic happens. So without putting the responsibility or playing their role or their part, which is needed, someone is going to have to be feeding with content, with feedback, with how to implement, especially we're talking about the small businesses, obviously, because they have a small department. When we obviously, if we were talking about big organizations, the problem will be making the developers of the team to implement big prioritizing tasks and stuff like that. But for small businesses and startups, I guess that's the main challenge, right? Getting the marketing guy or the salesperson to send you the content, right?
Yeah, it's really about getting the team on board in a bigger organization. In tiny solopreneurs or teams of, we'll say 5, arbitrary number. It's a little easier because there's this daily interaction with folks. There's less layers that we need to get to. As long as we all say it's important and we keep it visible and keep talking about it, it's not going to go missing. But in bigger organizations, it could get pushed to the side very easily.
No, I know obviously like obviously the difference. I mean, and you can enjoy playing and working with both, but then just depends. I mean, of the company really. I mean, who you work with, definitely. So in terms obviously of the AI, I mean, and the arrival of AI, Google Bard, ChatGPT, and all this new search generative experience that Google just testing it out now. Everyone is talking about new ways of showing the results on Google. Oh my God, it's blowing everyone's mind at the moment. Well, what are your thoughts and your opinion on this? And if you believe, obviously, it could be beneficial for SEO in some ways.
For sure, yeah. I mean, and as someone who's been doing SEO for more than a minute, it's exciting that this is coming in. It's exciting that things are changing. It's a new challenge. We're talking about this, right? It's a new challenge for us, and it always goes back to, well, how do I get to that position that's in front of people, right? So that's always our challenge. In terms of how to contextualize AI, that's the part that is not necessarily landed yet. Certainly for me. There's a whole lot of hype, and there's not a lot of information to be excited about, other than there's this new shiny thing. And so a couple words of caution. Let's not forget that links are still important. Let's not forget that technical is still important. Let's not forget that good information architecture is important. Let's not forget the things that are important. AI is not going to solve all those problems. And I saw someone post recently about using AI for keyword research. Why would you do that? It's not a tool for that. Maybe you can get some information out of it to help you with that, but there's no competitive information. There's no keyword volume. There's no difficulty. And all those metrics are flawed in those third-party tools, but it gives us something to work with. You don't even have that in the AI, right? So like, it's basically AI can do X, Y, and Z, and just enter X, Y, and Z, and people are talking about that. It's terrible. So going back to what it, right? Like, are we trying to be productive and use this technology for something good, or do we just want to talk about it? Let's use it for something good. So there's a couple ways we can do it. How we use it currently, and it's very simple. We're using it for content ideation, in addition to seeing what the questions are and people also ask in SEMrush and things of that nature. But trying to get an idea of how we can blow out a content calendar in a productive way. We're using it for rough tables of content to feed to writers who are then going to do the research to validate if that table of content is a good idea or not, right? It's really, we're trying to give them a leg up, but the explicit instructions we're giving to our writers is, if it's helpful, use it. If it's not, make your own decisions to make it a great page.
Obviously always supported by the human, obviously, knowledge, and the writers and the SEOs. And
that's right.
It's definitely a tool to help us improve or optimize tasks, not to do our tasks, not to substitute, which is that the mentality of, oh, AI is going to do your job, it's going to change all that. And I agree with obviously the part of the keyword research, because when I don't test, I mean, even if when people say that they can classify by search intent, it doesn't do it right. So you do it, we run tests, and then it's like, okay, it's not exactly this search intent, or it's not this, because it doesn't have that functionality of telling you exactly that.
For sure. Yeah. When we get to the place where AI is another tool in the toolbox, when that conversation lands, then we have a balanced conversation. Right now, it's a very imbalanced conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously I will always say, like, when you obviously say that very well, the areas that are important and matter, the foundation of SEO, with the architecture, with obviously the technical side of things, all of that, you could be helped by maybe creating some sort of snippet code or something that you need to do. But then you're going to need a developer, you're going to need an SEO, you're going to need people around to think strategically, recommend you things, and move you forward. Otherwise, and it's an additional tool. I think it's like what we've seen from our side. Then we can use it and can make our job better.
Absolutely, it'll make. I think the best case scenario for folks is it's going to make subject matter experts' jobs easier because they'll figure out best ways to use it, right? Or someone's going to create an application that's going to harness AI and will help folks with very specific use cases. But folks who are stepping into a domain that's new, it's going to be more of a challenge for those folks because they don't have the context of what good is in the domain in which they're working. So if you're not a good writer, but you want to get into writing because you heard writing is good for content, there's a high likelihood you're gonna write with AI, right? That makes sense. The result's going to be very different than working with someone who's a subject matter expert, who knows the topic, who's using AI as the tool to make the page better, because it's 10% of their workflow or whatever it is. It's not the entire workflow.
100%. I mean, obviously, from a content point of view, the quality and like you mentioned before, obviously the expertise, the experience, or the EIT or whatever, it's becoming even more important. So, how are you going to present some content that is not going to be helpful for the user, as helpful or as good, supportive and for the user, and it's not it's not going to be as relevant for Google anyway. So it's not going to work. I mean, in the long term anyway. I mean, especially healthcare and all these sectors, obviously will definitely not work. Yeah. It's something that, I mean, we will have to be adapting to the new changes with AI, but then also with the new search experience, which I don't know if you had the chance to test it out. Because
I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't. Have you?
No. It's only available in the US. I know I could use a VPN and all of that. I haven't had the time really because I've been really busy today. But I really want to get my hands on testing and seeing. I checked on Twitter. I've seen some impressions and people saying that this, I mean, it's still a lot to improve, to be honest. In some ways, is a first approach to be showing information in a way that is easier for the user to kind of like improve their experience without having to go into the website, which in a way, I mean, it's no, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to give an opinion now because I feel like it's going to change it's going to change. It's going to adapt. And I feel like when he's showing content in snippets and things that showing to users, but then he's not actually promoting the website or making people click on that, I don't think it's fair in a way, in my opinion. But then this is a whole other conversation to have, and maybe we can do another podcast in a month, 2 months time, 3 months time, and we can discuss about how that happened and how is it happening.
Yeah, I mean, that happened with Knowledge Graph when that came out back in the day. You know, instead of the 10 blue links or whatever it was at the time, there's now this big pattern of the Knowledge Graph and snippets of content. And if you ask for, I'm making up off the fly here, but if you ask about, how old is Tom Cruise, you didn't have to click on the link anymore. It was just right there. And you multiply that out by billions of queries, and you lose a lot of impressions, you lose a lot of clicks, you lose a lot of ad display revenue. And so there's certainly going to be, there seems to be that's going to be at play to some degree. But it is exciting from the perspective of there's probably a lot of websites that really shouldn't rank for queries that currently do. And that's always been the case, and this is going to change things for those parody websites where it's I'm trying to make things a little bit better at best case scenario, like the gentleman I was bringing up earlier, 7,000 posts and 100,000 page views a month or whatever it was. That site's probably not going to work out. However, sites that have that are good, have good content, have something to actually say, have good services, have a good reputation. While they may not get or they may not get more traffic, maybe they'll get more traffic, maybe they'll get less. But those are the sites that are going to still be found because they're relevant businesses and they deserve to be
Yeah.
ranked and found.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I obviously believe in the good, obviously the strategy of Google is always going to be, they always say that they always like to offer the best search experience and user experience with the best result possible. So that's the mission, right? That's the mission, Google's mission.
That is it.
So that's what we all work on, right?
Yeah,
we are working on that. Yeah.
It'll keep evolving, and we'll keep evolving with it.
Yeah, we'll definitely learn and adapt and to the situation. That's for sure. So moving into like more like from your experience working in several projects as a consultant, what would you say is the key to manage effectively? You already mentioned the team and all of that, but then is that more the key on having your team on board, right?
Yeah, and the question was specifically around a project. Is that correct, Tony?
Yeah. Managing.
Yeah, managing the project. Yeah, so it's really landing that SOW with the client first. Some folks are a little loose with expectations, be it from the consulting side or be it on the client side. There could be expectations that don't match. So we got to get that SOW that clearly lays everything out from a time frame, from what we're going to touch, to the quality of the work, to the what the performance of the work, right? And make sure that there's proper communication with the client around when we're starting and the milestones in between. Keep them engaged enough so that they're not doing the work. That's why we're here, but that they know that the work's being done, or else they're going to wonder what's going on. From there, we're looking to understand what the team looks like internally, depending on the project. I mean, sometimes we're doing everything for them, and other times we're not doing everything for them. We could be doing an SEO audit, but then they're implementing, or we could be doing the audit and then we're implementing, but there's a lot of details in there, ramping up on their back end and the server and all that fun stuff. Or there's content. Are we teaching them how to write content, or are we building the content, right? So to understand who's doing what and how it's being done is terribly important, or else someone could look at you and go, I thought you were going to do that. Okay, well, right. Like, I thought you're going to write all the content. No,
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, content strategy is not doing the content, it's strategy. Right. So it's different. So making sure we all understand what's happening.
Yeah, obviously, like the setting expectations since the very beginning is absolutely crucial. It's absolutely key for any project, because, as you say, this lack of understanding sometimes. It's not because they don't. I mean, they don't, because obviously they don't work in they don't do what we do. They don't understand exactly how we work, and they feel like, or they think like, everything is included in the project, and then you do this, you charge it that. And it's important, as you say, it's important to set expectations, to know who you're working with, and kind of like, prioritize and then organize everything, and be clear. I will share that with the audience. I'm sure they could learn from both sides, from a consultant side or from the client side, to be sure. And the other point that you touched that is so important, and sometimes I come clients come to me, or people come to me saying, I've been working with this consultant of this agency, never got any reports, only send me a screenshot of this, and never been telling me what they were implementing every month, or what were they trying to achieve with that. And that's I think is it's not acceptable first, and I think it's not giving a good press to our profession in some ways, SEO.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we break down reporting in two aspects. It's what we did and what happened, right? So production metrics and performance metrics. So, for example, production could be we did the audit, we fixed all the 301s, and then the performance is nothing, right? It's too early for performance. And so that's also part of the conversation is, well, when are you going to start to tell us what's going on? Well, not month 1, not month 2. Month 3 is when we'll start, but also depends on if we're working with the client, their development team. Like, did your guys produce anything? There's a dependency there. Oh, we're responsible. Yeah, there's shared responsibility here. And we all need to do our part, and then we get to performance. Or else we're just talking about production and what we need to do when we're talking about the blockages. But to have that consistent back and forth, which also gives the opportunity to raise the conversation around challenges and why things are getting done or not getting done, is that opens that door. So it's helpful to keep that line of communication open.
Definitely, I would say that is the absolutely key. I mean, if you are, I mean, it's all about strategy, in my opinion. I mean, and it's good for the client to understand, and it's good for us to know exactly where we are and what we're doing. But then obviously it comes down to everyone's way of working, and then the way they implement things and the way they go about things.
For
so.
Sure.
Talking more about any changing a bit, talking about more like an anecdote or some situation that you've been impacted. For example, I found a site that is being impacted by Google update or penalized in any way. And tell
Sure.
us one story of your years working.
Yeah. Can I give you 2 stories?
Yeah, of course, mate.
Okay. So I'll start with if you've been doing SEO for, man, I guess at this day and age, if you've been doing it for a year, chances are you've been impacted negatively by an algorithm update. It's just how it works these days. There's so many updates these days. It's almost like Google is just flipping the switch sometimes and just changing rankings for the sake of changing rankings. Like it really does feel that way. And I think it's one of the ways where Google sort of shakes off the fleas, right? Like if you don't have the commitment to stay in the game, that up and down is going to certainly show it. And so there's an aspect, I think, of, are you serious about the game? Are you serious about your business? And if you are, you will continue to make your website better, and things will even out over time.
Yeah.
But there are ups and downs, and it's not a straight line up, right? So weather the storms and keep on going. From the perspective of personal experience, the publisher I mentioned earlier, DMV.org, we happen to cover in the States. There's the DMV, Division of Motor Vehicles, and it's by each and every state, including DC. So 51 agencies, sort of, where it manages your car and your license and all that. And there was a private publisher who aggregated all that information together and produced 51 pages about how to get your license in state, for example, or lost license in state. And that's the one that I started at, where we were getting 85 million visits a year. And when I left 6 years later, 185 million visits a year, right? But the website's called dmv.org. So the problem with that is it's not a brand name. It's essentially the name of a government agency, right? And so the branding was a problem there. Also, we did such a good job with the SEO that we started to outrank just about all of the government agencies. So when someone typed in California DMV, the California DMV didn't show. We showed above them, and then the California DMV was below. That was true for years. And that, yeah, I know, right? And then in September of 2018, there was an algorithm change, and we experienced about, I think it was 15 or 20% drop in our traffic. And the conversation was, well, why did that happen? So we started to take a look at it by state. And what showed was, for some of the better states, with the website, sorry, the states with the better websites who happen to have the budgets. So California, New York, et cetera. So some of the bigger states, they started to take position number 1, and we got position number 2. Right, so that was in September. And I remember having the conversation with someone on the leadership team at the time, and they asked me, well, what do you think? I So one of two things are happening. Either it's just an algorithm change, and they happen, and so we'll see where we land, or Google has decided that we should not rank for these navigational terms, these branded keywords, essentially, and that's a different story. And so we're gonna find out is what it basically came down to, because there's nothing to act on, right? The idea was control the controllables. Well, there was nothing we can act on. There just wasn't.
Yeah, if you're doing the things right, I mean, what can you do? I mean, you should not panic or change anything. I mean, because
that's right. That's right. And this
be...
goes back to, you know, the S word strategy. You know, what do we do and why are we doing it? And when you're dnb.org, then you don't have a lot of strategy to pull from. We did everything very, very well. That's why we went from 85 to 185 million visits a year through SEO, right? So there was nothing wrong technically. The content was good, links are great, everything was good. The DNA of the website was starting to smell a little funny, according to Google. There's nothing you could do about that. So fast forward about 4 months, 5 months, I think it was January, I left the company, and literally less than a week later, my former manager sends me a text and he says, so you've been gone less than a week and we lost 40% of our traffic overnight. So I pick up the phone, we start talking. Okay, was the release last night? What happened? You know, going through the laundry list of why this could be a self-inflicted issue. And it wasn't. Google fundamentally decided that you should not rank for state term and DMB. You just shouldn't. So the site lost a lot of traffic, and it continued to lose a lot of traffic after that. So that's one instance, right? So when we talk about the context of AI now, right, and what it means, you better have a brand. You better not be a parody site. There should be a reason why someone looks you up and not just looks up informational queries or best thing to do action, right? You need a brand out there, or else you're gonna lose.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, if you're relying on what you say, like some traffic, some situation, or some favor position, or in a way that you know eventually you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So maybe that's gonna happen at some point, right? So
yeah, I mean, then dnb.org was so much fun. I mean, everything about it was great. Working there with the people, growing the team, being able to stretch my own skill set and really experiment and test the algorithm. It was fantastic. However, that, as well as a ton of other sites out there, used SEO as a business strategy, as a business model. SEO is not a business model, even though people use it for that. It's a marketing channel. So if you're gonna live by SEO as a business model, you may die by SEO as a business model.
Oh my God, this is I mean, it's actually something that, you know, some people get it wrong in a way, because as you say, obviously, if you're focusing on this is my model to generate the traffic to make money out of this as a main focus, but then if that, like you say, if that stops working or it doesn't work for some reason, business die, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's another channel. Yeah, very true, very true. And it should be treated like that. It's the same as putting all your I would always say that investing, especially if it's a small business, or doesn't matter, or bigger, investing everything on one channel, putting all your effort in one
That's
channel,
right.
it's not a strategy, because we're doing this, and eventually, if something happens, you need to have different channels that you managing at the same time, and it's not the way to move forward anyway. So
Totally. Yeah, you can burn your mailing list out with direct mail. You can burn your email list with too many emails. Paid search, someone may come in there with a bigger budget than you. Social channels, their algorithms change all the time. SEO, we already talked about that, right? Like you need to manage your integrated marketing in a way that makes sense, and not put all your eggs into one basket, or else that could not work out for you at some point.
100%. I mean, if we have to give the best advice to those small businesses, especially the small ones, because obviously the small ones, as you have the expertise as well, they have limited budgets. I mean, if for them losing a big number of sales is probably go busted, go busted for
Yeah.
other businesses. They can afford to lose a bit, and then they can always go back. So I mean, been having a great time. So we're gonna move into more like we're moving into the tool side. So what are the best the tools, digital marketing SEO tools that you can't live without in your life?
Yeah, I'll start with one that is not necessarily a digital marketing tool, but everyone should have it from my perspective, and that's a project management tool. we use Asana, and my personal tagline around Asana is, if it's not in Asana, if it doesn't exist in Asana, it doesn't exist. It's not in email, it's not in Slack, it's not in text. There's so many things get lost that way. And if you want to be efficient, if you're a small team and there's not a lot of fat, and you need to be responsible, and that should be true for everyone regardless of the size, you need to have something that's a source of truth for the information. And that needs to be, in my perspective, Asana or something similar. There's a few out there, but our preference is Asana.
Yeah, we do use project manager. We do use Asana as well now. Yeah, I tried many before, but then we use Asana as well.
Yeah, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. From a SEO tools perspective, there's a few of them out there, and we hunker down to SEMrush. So you can use Ahrefs, SEMrush, even SpyFu is a good one. It's a lower cost one, but it's good for competitive analysis, for links, for keywords, et cetera, et cetera. SEMrush also has some amount of technical auditing, which is helpful if you want to use that tool as your only tool. So that could be used, that could be leveraged for a lot of things. You can also get into Majestic if you're really focused on links. It's a very helpful tool. From a technical perspective, Screaming Frog is a fantastic tool, right? Yeah, it's just fantastic. If you're not looking at your website through the lens of Screaming Frog, then you're not doing technical SEO. You're not looking at one of the fundamental aspects of SEO.
Yeah, it's the best one. I mean, for me, one of the best ones.
Yeah. There's, I mean, Google Search Console, obviously, which is great. Also, it picks up a lot of patterns, right? And it's a lot of sample data. So it's from my perspective, it's a good source of data, but it's even a better source of SEO training implicitly, because you need to figure out what's actually going on, right? With Screaming Frog, it's like, here's 301s, and you can look up, what do I do with 301s, 302s. You can search online, and you could probably find something that's going to help you with your use case. If it's more complicated, if it's a bigger website and you start to see things like indexed but not ranked, or whatever, there's a ton of messages in Search Console. You sort of have to figure out what it means and contextualize it for your website. And the website is the same. They're all going to be different. So looking at it from that perspective, to understand your website and to understand what's happened in the past is going to help you understand how to fix it. And most likely, assuming those people who made the changes before where Search Console is reporting on them, it's a good training tool for those folks too. We did this. Here's the results. Here's what Search Console said. Right.
Yeah.
If there's 20,000 pages that were discovered not indexed, we should talk about that. Why is that? It could be a dev issue, right? Because
this is a very, very common situation. I mean, I totally back you on this. Google Search Console, if you have been working on the project and you know exactly what you're doing and how you handle situations, you get notifications, you get recommendations, but you know exactly, okay, this is something that is already fixed, okay, or this is something that I can take care of. But if someone else who is not a SEO and is looking into it, he will a client or whoever marketer is not, and it's like, it will be panicking because it's constantly like, oh my god, so many no index this, no crawl, and it's like, well, that's the ones that we don't want the index, so don't worry.
Right.
And that's the ones that we already fixed, and that's that you need to. There is I know this is this is a very important topic. It's important
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, so many folks I work with, our basic table stakes of getting in are Google Analytics and Search Console. Like after that, we can largely do what we need to do. And I always ask, so are you using Search Console now? No. Well, why is that? I don't understand it. Okay, and that's a fair come from. Like if you haven't done the work, you shouldn't really understand everything that's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we it's on us to tell the client or the other person, with the people that we're dealing with, if they don't understand what is in there, just don't touch it, or don't really ask if before you implement something or change something. 100%. So that's a good a powerful set kit for SEO, and very good useful tools. And more of a personal approach. Or I'm always like, I like to give it to your own decision. If you like to share maybe someone to inspire you, maybe it could be the people that inspire you, whether obviously it can be anyone. And then if any book or any film that you feel like inspired you as well, it's just happy to share whatever you you feel like.
Yeah. I mean, Tina Turner died this week, and that right. I mean, that woman endured so much, and she came out on the other side. So from the perspective of focus, resilience, and dragging herself literally across the highway to a better life. I mean, that's if folks haven't seen the story, the movie, it's from my understanding is it's toned down dramatically, because the producers didn't want to put.
I'm getting goosebumps, man. Yeah. Rest in peace, Tina Turner.
Yeah. I mean, just a wonderful story about someone who started here and ended up way over there. From a book's perspective, I wrote down 3 that I wanted to share with folks. Where are they?
Yeah. Well, happy. I mean, I always ask this question. I feel like it's cool that to share like with other people, with obviously people, and I like to always know new books. Maybe something that I can find that is interesting to read. So
and there's a theme here, Tony. So and none of them are SEO books, but they're really all about you and your own operating system, essentially. So there's one by Joshua Medcalf called Chop Wood, Carry Water, and it's about falling in love with the process of doing something.
Cool.
I mean, and as an SEO, there's always these shiny things to distract us, right? AI is a very real thing. Also, it's very shiny right now, right? So let's not forget about the things that actually move the needle, that have been proven to move the needle. Good content, good technical, right? And after you do it more than once, it's a little same. It's a little boring. The results are very exciting. The process can be a little bit boring, but the more efficient you can do it, the better you can do it. The more you can train a client to do it, the more you can train a team to do it, right? So it's really in your hands to not let it be boring. It's in your hands to serve the client and serve the project. And this book sort of talks about that in one way or another. It's all about the process. Deep Work by Cal Newport. The reason why I like this one is there's just so much distraction. You can call it Slack, you can call it email, you can call it social media, you can call it the news. And this is really about hunkering down and doing the right things as they align to your goals. Not being distracted by the outside world, but starting with yourself and doing the work to achieve the results you want.
Sounds good. Sounds pretty good, actually. Yeah.
And the last one is Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday, which is similar in theme as Deep Work, but it takes a different approach to it. It's really about intentionally breaking away from the noise and sitting with yourself and slowing down a little bit and being a more, shall we call it, intentional about what you're achieving, what you're acting on.
Yeah, I like that approach, because what I don't like is the approach when we talk about hustle, because that's something that, it's just not going to get you anywhere, because it's not okay to be hustling and not looking at what you want to do and how you feel about what you do. And I like that approach, which is obviously sounds like it's completely the opposite. So you focus on what you do, but then you're doing better for yourself rather than hustle.
Totally.
I don't like the culture of hustle, really. I mean, I don't know about you, but not something that, we gotta work harder. No.
It's prevalent in the States, and that's part of the reason why I do what I do. I work for myself. I have a small team. We work on select clients. We don't take everyone. We do good work for a small book of business, and it's what we like to do, and we focus on what we think is important for folks. Make sure there's alignment there. Yeah.
No, it's good. I think it's, as you obviously you mentioned, the culture is important, because when you coming from a culture of hustle, I think the UK is kind of very similar. In Spain, I'm originally from Spain, and we don't have that culture of hustle as much. We are more into like living life, being more sociable, enjoying, and all of that, which in a way should be, I like the balance, right? I like the balance of working hard to achieve something, and the balance of enjoying socializing and having a good life, and then meeting in the somewhere in the middle. So I think we are aligned on this. Totally. Yeah, definitely. So I'm having a great time. We could be talking for like 3 hours, to be honest. I know this is, so obviously we're coming to an end of the podcast. That is, we have just a couple of quick questions, or more like personally as well, in terms of like, if you weren't obviously work SEO, you were working SEO, which you've been doing for your entire career, what would you do? What profession would you be?
Yeah, I think I would still want to work with small businesses and entrepreneurs, but different contexts. And I do a little bit of this work now, but I would probably focus on it more. And that's working directly with individuals on their operating system. So I've worked with founders of companies. I've worked with folks who are transitioning from a subject matter expert to a manager position. Those are two very different skill sets, as well as folks who are W-2s, full-time employees, and are looking to break out into being a solopreneur or an entrepreneur or something. So those are the three types of people that I've worked with. Haven't focused on the work, but to work with them around how they show up, what their goals are, and how they operate through those, obtaining those goals. And so it's a little bit of a coaching. It's around and
coaching. I was going to say, coaching. I mean, it's obviously, if you enjoy doing that, I mean, you're passionate, and you could do it obviously as part of your your career. So yeah, very good. So more like a coach, not only SEO. You mean more like a process.
Yeah. I've worked with a few folks, and they have stepped out of their full-time jobs and have started their own businesses, and they have gone from subject matter expert to starting
having to do everything as we all start. We all start having to do everything all of a sudden, and it's like, crazy.
Yeah. And so this one individual I'm thinking of, I ran it through. I use something called a Harrison assessment. It's someone has to go through and stack rank their preferences, and what comes out of it, the behavioral preferences, and what comes out of it is a 40-page report about how you operate under stress, not under stress, how you communicate. And it's fascinating. It's really like looking at your own personal operating system. It's very humbling. I've gone through it as well.
Wow.
And
I'd like to know more about that, man.
We should talk about it if you want to offline. It's an amazing tool. And this one individual, I ran him through. I remember talking to him, and I said, it's fascinating what you have here. Let me know if I get this wrong. It sounds like you have a large tolerance for like disorganizational messes. Is that about right? And he's like, yeah, I do. It's okay. So you have two paths you can go down. You can be the hero in a very disorganized organization, or you can say, I've had enough of this, and you can use your skill sets to work someplace else without having to manage all that mess. The choice is yours. Like, what would you like to do? He said, I don't know, I need to figure it out. Anyway, he calls me, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months later, and he says, I kept this report on my desk, and I really used it to manage my career. And I want to let you know that I'm going to start to lead a new division for this company. So he
Wow.
stayed with the same company, went from subject matter expert to now starting a division and leading that division.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was very cool. It's a very cool conversation, and he attributes some of that in part to the report and running them through that. It was super cool.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, no, honestly, yeah. I think it's like when you help people change and improve their lives, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And I feel like if we could do that, I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, to help people improve their lives. I mean,
Yeah,
with business the same, obviously, but business is not only it's business. I mean, we improve their results, but then if you improve someone their own progress and their own, that's even better,
yeah.
right?
Would you like to do this? We can certainly do it if you want to. I'd love to talk about it. I love it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love this.
yeah. I will love about the topic because I've been reading all this the clockwork by Mike Mihailovich, which is basically talking about how you build your business run itself without you being which we're still working on it. So, but maybe like we talk offline about this.
Yeah,
Hundred
let's talk
percent.
about it. Yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah. I'm up for it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So yeah, I always ask, where would you learn? What would you recommend people to learn about SEO? I mean, what? Because obviously there's so much noise. I mean, and some good stuff. There's so much noise and Twitter and all of that, no? But then it's so much good resources out there as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's all the industry websites are one part good noise, good information, and one part noise, and a lot of it is because there's not a lot of context. Like if you step into the latest article about algorithm changes and you start reading quality content, like you got to start to detangle what that even means, and that's, I mean, after doing this for this long, it's hard to detangle what Google wants for quality content. Like, come on, like a newbie is supposed to figure it out after reading an article. It doesn't work that way. And also, it's a great place to stay up on what's happening. So you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to stay in that conversation. Google, oh God, what do they call it anymore? Google Web Central, I think is what it's called now, but it's basically where Google lists everything you should.
Google Search Central. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a great place. See what Google actually wants. Go to the source. See what they want. It's not training material. You still need to figure it out, but you get to interpret it as you want to. It doesn't go through another filter. So either way, you need to start reading that. Selfishly, I'll introduce that. I'm putting together a class. It should be available at the end of July. So I'm focusing on the things that have moved the needle for my clients in the past 3.5 years, as well as the lessons from since 2003. It's been a while, but a lot of, as we talked about, things have changed a lot, and things have also not changed. There's a blend of those two things that need to be part of the conversation all at the same time. Technical is highly important still. We're going to cover that. AI is very unknown, and also is going to be highly relevant for us and just about everyone else in the world, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're gonna learn how to, and folks are going to need someone to help them navigate that. And it's not going to be with the last LinkedIn post. It's not going to be with the last article.
Or the Twitter thread saying, download my, because all those people are trying to capitalize on people that are quite lost. Not lost. I mean, we're not saying lost, but they wanted to get the shortcut. And it's like, is this, okay, download this and get my course of, I'm not saying that there are people with good courses, with good resources, and we're trying to separate the AI specialists from the good SEO stuff and the good professionals and the good resources.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's those places, and if your audience wants to hear more about training that I'm putting together, I'd love to shoot them out a link when it's ready. coupon code, get people in. The goal is going to be fill up that class, and I'm also going to include monthly site clinics, right? So it'll be a live site clinic. I'm going to get folks in from other disciplines to talk about, because SEO, as we talked about, it's a tactic. It's not a business strategy, right? So let's talk about, I'm going to get folks who are experts in branding, in conversion optimization, in paid search, et cetera. Right? So let's round out these skill sets so folks can navigate their career and their businesses as they need to.
Yeah, count me in. I mean, I love to support, to get involved, to share. I mean, always happy to share. I mean, the reason why I do the podcast and my newsletter and everything is to share as much with people. I mean, whether it's my content, whether it's your content, anyone's content that I feel like is valuable and useful, I'll share it. No, I will not share random people try to sell their AI AI courses. No, that sort of crap. That's not it.
Yeah.
That's not for us. That's not for our audience. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I had a great time talking to you, and for the record, I mean, Nick and I will just like. It's actually the first time we speak properly and we have a good conversation. So just encouraging people to reach out if you want to be part of the podcast, or we want to, I mean, and then the good things happen, and then you get to know someone in your sector interesting, and then you start building relationships. So I think my advice of today's conversation is that you got to connect with people, you got to reach out. And that's so important. And then I think summarizing the chat, there's lots of great good points and discussed today. I think people will definitely learn a lot from you, Nick, and they enjoy. So I'd like to obviously thank everyone who is listening and joining at any point if they join they watch the video version of the podcast as well. Thanks for being there, and thanks to the sponsor of SEO Ranking for being a sponsor and supporting the podcast, because we are not a huge podcast, so we need sponsors. We know, like we are still in the process of trying to build this up, so it's very helpful, the support. And then thank you so much, Nick. If you like to tell people where can they find you, where they can find you on social, or where they can connect with you or follow you.
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Nick Musica on LinkedIn. If you want to go to the website, it's opticsin.com. But I love to connect with folks on LinkedIn. That's my go-to.
Brilliant. So I will share all the details. I mean, then with the description. So for everyone to obviously the links and to your LinkedIn. So everyone, please follow Nick and then connect with him. And thank you so much. And hopefully talk again very soon, Nick. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Take care. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, Tony.
Take care. Bye-bye.